Right.
right now. So that means that anybody out there can join us and ask Bill Rogers a question. Who is Bill Rogers? Well, for those that don't know who Bill Rogers, there he is, right there, Bill. Wow, you used to be a meteorologist in the Air Force. Then you ended up working for CBS, and then you ended up reenacting your father's national cable show about adventure in the outdoors.
That's right.
And now, not, I mean, we're skipping a lot by saying now because you've traveled the world. You've eaten yourself. Well, you haven't eaten yourself. You've eaten your way across the world.
Yeah.
And now the big news in the chatter is that you're eating your way across America. And PMQ is part of this effort. We're following you, especially when you take little detours down the pizza cul-de-sacs on your way. And so we're really thrilled to have you here. And we're just going to have fun for the next hour because you're just you've got a lot of stories. And where should we begin, Bill? I mean, we have all these people out. Yeah.
I think you and I met maybe 4 or 5 years ago at like the International Bread Expo or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're the same age almost, and we became instant friends. And Culinary TV, we look at desserts, hamburgers, and typically pizza's been about 25% of our content. But last year, it's interesting what happened to the whole economy. Pizza actually came out on top. And so this year, we launched the Great American Pizza Party. And we have a number of sponsors and vendors across America. We're going to mobile pizza operations, seeing how they're doing, restaurantes, pizzerias, brick and mortars. And we're serving up America's favorite food, which is pizza. And I think it's like 48 billion pizzas eaten a year in America. So we're very excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited to be here too.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to clarify, about $48 billion worth of pizza, which is probably about 4 or 5 billion pizzas, just to keep things official.
That's right.
So I'm curious about one thing. Why is it that you don't want to order lemonade in India? I noticed that was that you had an opinion about that.
Well, that's part of my do's and don'ts. One of my favorite beverages is lemonade. I just love lemonade. Got to India, the food was very different. I was in a restaurant with some friends and saw something very familiar, which was lemonade. I ordered it, and in India, it's quite different. They don't sweeten it with sugar. They turn the lemonade on its head, and they put salt in it. So you can imagine the real big surprise my taste buds had. And so I kind of took that off my list in India. But I found many other dishes that I really enjoyed. I'm a big rice fan. I like rice on everything. I've even had rice on pizza. And in India, there's lots of rice. In fact, when we were there, we spent 10 days in an orphanage on a high mountaintop. And you'd think, top of the mountain, it's going to be nice. It was about 100 degrees. Humidity was about 90%. Even at night, it was hot. But they served rice every day. And I was in my element.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's well, India
is a boring fact to find out about me that I like rice, but I like rice in form. But we spent 10 days in Italy, and we had pizza at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, and some of the best pizza we've ever had. Of course, that's where it originated.
Yeah.
And there are so many different varieties of pizza. We need to bring some of that to the United States. We have traditional pizza, what people consider, a regular pizza that they're going to order out. But in Italy, they take it to that nth degree.
What do you think, based on your experience of, you've been capturing food all over the world for so long? What advice or tips would you give to pizza operators as far as communicating to consumers on, their goal is to get people to come into their store? If what do you try to capture in video in order to bring a customer in?
Well, one of the best advertising elements you can have in your strategy, you can't capture on video. In Italy, I noticed one of the best pieces of marketing came from the aroma of the shop. And you just had to put the brakes on and see what it was about. So, number one, that's it. People turn their senses in your direction. But there are so many different ways that you can market your company, even if you're up against the wall. I worked at WKBW in Buffalo as a meteorologist back in the 90s. And there was a very popular chain only known to Buffalo called Anderson's Roast Beef. And Anderson's Roast Beef was so popular that as you would go by the restaurants, there was a huge line waiting to get in. And so many times we just kept on driving. And of course, they were losing business, but they powwowed about it. They came up with a really cool strategy, which was they had this shirt that you could buy when you went to Anderson's that said, I stood in line at Anderson's Roast Beef. From that, people would go back, stand in line, talk to the people in front of them, behind them, tell their neighbors, I got a shirt and I actually stood in line. So not only did it attract more people, but that shirt actually became an additional stream of revenue. So they turned a negative into a positive. When I was a little boy, not too far from our dairy farm where I grew up in Colorado, there was this roadside stand that sold ice cream. And they did okay. A guy came in, he bought the ice cream place, and a lot of people questioned why he did so. But he really knew what he was doing. People would stop, and they had a little bit of a line, and many times they grew impatient and they left. So he had a girl outside who was taking orders, taking money, and then you got him. So things like that, you can turn around, turn it into a positive, so people can really taste your signature flavors. And of course, once they do, then they're hooked.
Mm-hmm. So you had, when you did your meatball, sort of a tongue-in-cheek review, I guess you would call it. Was there a real restaurant involved, or was that just
There was. I was in Battle
yeah.
Creek, Michigan, and the news director came to me and said, we'd like somebody in the room to do a tongue-in-cheek restaurant review. And he kind of felt I had a little bit of Jerry Lewis inside of me, and he asked me if I'd like to do it. So my wife and I signed on. We would go shoot those in the evening, and we'd usually take our whole family. We have 9 children. Now we have 28 grandchildren, but back then we'd take our kids and they'd get a free meal out of it. And we had a lot of fun. Well, we worked with this very talented engineer called Steve Gagnon. And Steve had this band called Entree. And he helped me orchestrate. He came up with this whole meatball video idea. And we went to this real restaurant, as you asked, called the Spaghetti Factory. Maybe the Meatball and Spaghetti Factory. Anyways, it's in Battle Creek, Michigan. We filmed there, told them what we wanted to do. They loved the publicity. And then we chased this meatball all over town. I sent you the videos. I wish our viewers could see it, but the meatball was actually made out of a Christmas ornament that we colored brown and red, and it was pretty good. Our producer liked it so much, he sent it to MTV Basement Videos. They liked it, and it played for 13 weeks. So it was pretty cool. And my wife and I went on to do others, but that was really the peak. That we had a hard rock and roll band. We had chasing the video. We had the lyrics of the song specific to our segment. So it was really cool. And as kind of a cool side note, um, the engineer, Steve Gagnon, who was the main player in the band, who had the long hair and everything, and his hair now is just like yours and mine, except he's got a little bit more than me. He had a marvelous voice, still does, and he went out and he would impersonate Elvis, and just for his church. And I believe the story goes, and they said, "Hey, there's a contest down in Indianapolis. You should go." So he went down. There was an Elvis impersonation contest in Indianapolis. He went there and he won, and that qualified him to go to Las Vegas for the national show. And he went there and he won.
Oh my goodness!
And his concerts are just amazing. He calls himself the Big E. You can, research him on
royalty free for being the Big E, I guess, huh?
So later in life, he became and still is a very successful real estate person. And he uses that in his marketing. He calls himself the King of Sold. The King of Sold.
King of Sold.
There are so many things that restaurants and pizzerias can take and put their own spin on things, like Steve did, and market themselves to their local regions to make a huge difference.
Well, that's great for some of the individuals that are going to be involved with your trek across America this year. There's going to be some publicity. You're going to be stirring up some publicity in different markets. Where are you going to be going during the upcoming year, or where are you going to be fishing or getting content from on this trip across America?
The Great American Pizza Party takes place everywhere, but we have a trailer, an oven on a trailer here in the Northeast. WPPO Trailers has an oven in the upper Midwest and in the Southwest. And so we're covering as much as we can in regards to mobile operations that way. We also are just coming in and visiting the mom and pop pizzerias wherever they may be across America. Last week we had you on our National Pizza Day broadcast, and we had Peter Reinhardt on. You remember Peter?
Oh, absolutely.
And Peter has a nephew that has a mobile pizza operation, I think from Fire Within, who works sometimes with Siler Chapman. If you know Siler, he's a pizza champion.
Right.
And he has a mobile pizza operation as well. So, it's celebrating those guys like that who knocked it out of the park during this pandemic. They stopped, they pivoted and said, okay, this is what we need to do to make some money. For example, Siler Chapman, he's a smart guy anyways. But he said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go out on social media, announce where we are. You order your pizzas. When we get there, you pull up, we hand you your pizza and you pay for it. And they've been doing it that way, all year long. And because they're in Charlotte, they do it year round.
Yeah. And do they make it? Do they make them on the way, or they just go there and make them?
They go, set up, and make them.
And then make them, right?
Yep. Any oven that you would use for a mobile operation has got to have great heat retention. Right. And their ovens do, from Fire Within. WPPO ovens have this massive heat retention. And so you go, you set up, and you can cook for hours and hours off of that heat. And an experienced pizza operator can cook different things as the temperature of that oven goes up and down. A 900-degree pizza oven is good for pizza, but on its way down, you can start baking bread around 400 or 500 degrees.
Yeah. Or some different style of pizza at 550,
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's pretty cool.
That.
Yeah. So what is WPPO an acronym, or is that just their name?
It is an acronym. It stands for something pizza ovens.
Okay.
Dan or Lisa, if you're listening or watching out there,
Yeah.
please let us know what WPPO stands for. But it does. They have a
I bet
number.
if you Google WPPO ovens, you'll be fine.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
WPPOLLC.com, I believe.
Okay.
But they have ovens for everybody who wants to cook pizza on their deck, for mobile operations, for commercial operations, and they have that key ingredient, which is large thermal mass for their ovens.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Well, since you're full of tips, I've heard that you've got a sort of a secret pizza sauce. What can you tell me about your secret pizza sauce?
Well, your sauce needs to start out naked. You can't buy a sauce that you're going to work with that has all these things inside of it. And I learned that from a very talented guy. Do you know Matt Maslowski? Matt Maslowski, he's about our age.
Yeah, I mean that name tickles my brain. It's still searching, but I would have to say no if I were on a lie detector test. Yeah.
Well, it tickles your brain for a number of reasons. One, after he grew up in Chicago and worked in his uncle's deli, I believe it was, Matt became a very talented star in the NFL. He played for the Rams and the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
Yep. And
yeah.
they started Carmelina Brands, and he brings
yes.
all those tomatoes from Italy.
Yes.
These are San Marzano, not just any tomato. But he doesn't pack them with, all of the things that you don't need. So what you do is kind of, which is now very popular, a clean palette to start with. And then you add what you need to make your secret sauce. And you're not trying to outweigh somebody's salt that they put in there, or oregano or whatever comes in some of these pizza sauces out there. So starting with a very nice blank canvas, Matt taught me a good lesson, and I'm not a great pizza chef, but I can make a great sauce now, knowing what it starts with. And I'm indebted to Matt for teaching me that.
Yeah. Okay, that is a good secret, and I was surprised. Let's see, Domenico Crolla, the great Domenico Crolla from Scotland. Beam me up, Scotty. He's known for making celebrity pizza faces. He creates, he does it. He's an artist and he's a pizzaiolo. But I sat in on a Neapolitan style workshop for him, and I just thought it was insightful how he talked about sauces, and he tells people exactly that he doesn't use a sauce. All he does, he just takes fresh tomatoes and hand crushes them, and that's his sauce. And
very good.
He says you can improve nature, so that, but it's a starting point. You need to start with something that's pure, and then maybe add it to make it your signature or something. But I think that reinforces what you're talking about, is you got to start with a clean palette and start simply. And from there, it may need to take a different direction depending on what temperatures, what kind of taste, kind of market. There's a lot of variables out there.
I get asked quite often my favorite type of pizza. And about 1993, I was interviewing Michelangelo. I'm sure you know who he is. He was one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
And the publicist says, make sure to ask him what his favorite pizza was.
Oh, very good.
And so I stole that line from him, but I asked him, so what's your favorite pizza? He said, free pizza.
Free pizza.
But, and that's my favorite too. But,
so that's your favorite pizza.
I go for a sausage and mushrooms. I love it. And a nice, good sauce. Yeah. Simple pizza.
Yeah. Well, That's one of my favorites. When I go to Chicago, I don't really, I mean, I can't. I mean, Lou Malnati's. I love Lou Malnati's, but I also love Rosati's, which is just a workman's, blue collar pizza, and it's just sausage. If you're going to be in Chicago, you might as well take advantage of the fact that they're good. They got to have great sausage, or they're not in business. So
That's I think Chicago. I think of
Yeah.
Leo Spazzeri.
Oh
And
yeah, sure.
He cooks a great
Yeah.
pizza too.
Yeah. That's nice about pizza. Wherever you go, I wouldn't say that wherever you go, you'll find great pizza, but it's not far away. It's not far away.
Well, a couple of years ago, I had something called a Sonoran Pizza, and it was standard pizza crust with refried beans and avocados. Let me tell you, it was really good. Pizza comes in all kinds of shapes and flavors, and that was one great example right there.
Where did you have that? Somewhere in the Southwest or in Mexico, or?
Well, the Pizziola was from Mexico. He was at the Wood-Fired University in Denver, and he showed me how to make it, and he and his wife actually made it. And do you know Chef Stephanie Peterson?
No.
You should know her. She's like the vice president of the American Home Baking Association, and they have like over 1 million members.
Really?
But, yep. She was there at that same workshop, and she says there's something that you gotta taste. And oh man, it was awesome. Called the Sonoran Pizza, and they were out of we just had a little guest go through there. They were out
I saw that. He's made several trips, but I think I wouldn't disturb anything. He's very nice.
Yes. Well,
is that one of your grandchildren?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we got 9 children and 28 grandchildren.
Yeah, well, he's a good-looking character there.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
My kids get their good looks from me because my wife still has hers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a joke that I use with my kids all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, other than that, I do share a secret sauce for marketing. And
that's I was just going to ask you that.
And
do you have a secret sauce for marketing?
I do. Right now, social media is a great way to market your restaurant, pizzeria, or mobile pizza operation. Right now, video is king. If you can take a small piece of video right off of your, your smartphone and put that on social media, Facebook pushes it out because it's video. And, you can take that same piece of video, invest in a small monitor, and if you're a mobile pizza operation and you have that setting on your table, people will be drawn in toward it as they're trying to see what you're about or waiting in line to order. You're going to keep their attention. And, all of that's made possible by video. And it doesn't have to be anything professional, just some nice close-ups of what people are standing in line for, which is video, for pizza. Now, one of the things that I learned from my kids is that if you're using it on social media, it needs to be short. In fact, the first thing that people will look at is, how long is this video that you want me to look at? How much time do I have to invest? Because time is our most valuable commodity. So if you keep it under 1.5 minutes, you're going to keep their attention and they're going to be able to watch it in its entirety. So video, keep it short, and use it wherever you can. On social media, but use it also on your operation, in your restaurant, on your mobile operation, wherever you might be. And with that, I want to tell you what the power of testimonials are. Advertising is basically what we're doing when we're going to social media. We're trying to convince people to come to our restaurant, taste our flavors. And advertising is known for eons that testimonials are the best way to do that. If you can grab your smartphone again, grab a quick sound bite of someone who has just had a piece of your pizza, and put that in a loop of people talking about your pizza, you're going to be great.
Hmm.
I mean, back in the 50s, when television really became popular, what did we find?
Yeah.
We found women talking about the ring around the collar that their husband had and how this detergent got it out. What's the most powerful element in a courtroom? The testimony. And you
Hmm.
can't get better than an expert witness than someone who has just tasted your pizza.
Wow, I think that's the soundbite of this whole video, what you just said. I'm going to remember that was at minute 24 to hunt this down. That's really good. So there's two takeaways. One is if you're going to use video, your best shot is to have the pizza itself in a video form, and the other one is have somebody witnessing about how the pizza tasted, because you can't express taste in a video, but you can tell a story about the taste. So I guess that's where it all comes together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. You know, there's a mobile pizza operation out in Colorado run by Timothy Scott. It is called the Colorado Pizza Company, I believe.
Hmm.
And he used to be a food video producer for the Food Network. And he saw the possibilities of making money. He ended up quitting what he was doing. He bought a mobile operation. He's been knocking it out of the park ever since. He is the king of video. People tune in, even if they're not hungry, just to see what he is posting
Really?
on his social media. And he does such a
Wow.
great job. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
got this expertise. And he shows close-ups of his pizza. He gets your mouth waters, your taste buds watering, and then the next thing you know, you're opening up your wallet.
Wow. Now what's the guy's name?
Timothy Scott.
Timothy Scott. Yeah, you said that. Timothy
Colorado
Scott.
Pizza Company. Yeah.
Timothy Scott. What is that, in Denver?
No,
Or,
it is. It's south of
Timothy
Denver. I'm
Scott.
not certain what the town is. We met up with him and filmed a segment with he and his wife. It's interesting. They have four people in their family. He, his wife, and two kids. They set a record of 400 pizzas in an afternoon. And he and his wife were making the pizzas. His daughter, who at the time I think was 11, was
Yeah.
taking the money and making change. And his 14-year-old son was cooking all those pizzas.
Yeah.
So you can become quite talented at an early
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
Tyler Chapman, I think his operation is called King of Fire. And that's out
King
of
of
Charlotte,
Fire,
North
huh?
Carolina.
Yeah.
He's got a great operation. He does caterings, birthdays, corporate events,
Yeah.
but he does a lot of going into neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Just tells people, King of Fire is going to be in this neighborhood at 7:00. Send us your orders.
I think he was, Tyler Chapman was the youngest person we ever had on our front cover. We had him, he was like 19 when he had his first pizzeria. And he used to race motorcycles, and he ended up being on our U.S. pizza team. He was one of the early people, and so talented, and I knew he had a great future. And he really, I love to hear stories about that, about people that have just, continue to make a living and do great things in our industry, in our humble pizza industry. It's just a set of wings for a lot of people to just go beyond what you would expect of average people to do. But there's so many people that have been able to express themselves through pizza or through the restaurant industry. And part of it's because of their showmanship or just some willingness or need to make people happy. Who knows where it comes from? But when you take a look at successful people in our industry, it's just such a pleasure to be in this business. I just love being able to interact and experience the great people. And I detect that you feel the same way, or you wouldn't have spent so much time in this in this business yourself, but it is just one human success story or sad failure story, but it's very human what people do to be successful.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I are both foodies. Obviously, I like to eat. My wife's a much better cook than I am, but
Yeah.
we're always looking for new and different foods. We were filming up in Milwaukee. We were driving down to Chicago, and on the way just across the border in the northern Illinois, we saw this farmers market going on, and we saw this big pizza oven there on a mobile operation called Pizzeria de Ville. And we stopped, and they were these girls. They were baking these huge pies, and they were getting about $20 a pie for them. They put an egg right in the center of it. And the owner came over after a while when he saw our cameras come out, and we did an interview with him. He had a brick and mortar called Pizzeria de Ville, and then his mobile operation. And the interesting thing he said about his mobile operation was that his oven never cools down. They go to the farmer's market that night. They'll go to a party someplace. And in the meantime, the oven holds that heat, and they keep it busy all the weekend as well. And not only was it initially supposed to be a supplement to his income, it now became his strongest stream of revenue for his pizza operation.
Yeah.
He was a banker. Quit what he was doing, opened up his brick and mortar pizzeria, did really well, and then did his mobile operation as well.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. Was that another Fire Within, or was that a WPPO oven or a different one? I'm interested in accumulating who the players are in the mobile oven industry.
The Pizzeria de Ville was Fire Within.
Fire Within, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a real nice job.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they train their people too. They give you manuals, and if you don't know anything about pizza, you can get into the business.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not certain if his crew had been to their wood-fired university, but having their own brick and mortar, it was just natural for them to transition without any training.
I think we're going to wrap this up. We're over 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness!
Which is where we try to limit it to. Are there any final tips or anything that you'd like to leave us with to ponder until we see you again?
Cast your nets farther in 2021. In our business, we send out typically around 40,000 emails a year. In 2020, we sent out about 200,000 to maintain the same amount of volume. Cast your nets farther, and we'll get through this. And on the other side, things will return to normal.
Well, that's great, Bill. I appreciate that. So let me ask you this. I noticed one of your name tags that said doctor. Are you a meteorologist, or what's the doctor from, or was that just a?
No, I do have a doctorate in psychology, marriage counseling. I have a bachelor's in earth science. But so I use that. I wonder where you saw that. You must have saw it on television. But I was known as Dr. Bill for 25 years. Yeah.
Dr. Bill.
Yeah.
You didn't get a call from Dr. Phil, and you haven't been using it ever since Dr. Phil.
By a couple of decades.
Okay, well that's very interesting. Okay, Bill. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. We'd love you to come back again at some point, and maybe we can get more specific about a future subject that we can just have you knock them right out of the park again.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.